In the news tonight, the Prime Minister tells his reshuffled cabinet that the current challenges require a change of approach to meet citizens' aspirations for development. Jordan condemns a deadly chemical attack in Syria, which killed hundreds amid international calls for an investigation. And former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak is flown from jail, but he will be placed under house arrest. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. Prime Minister Abdul Mansour convened his cabinet a day after a reshuffle which brought in 10 new ministers. Mansour wished the expanded government success in its tasks, stressing that the government had no private agendas but serving the country with utmost efficiency, integrity and responsibility. He said the current challenges the country is facing required a change of approach to meet citizens' aspirations for development and achievement in various areas. It is not a coincidence that Jordan survived in a turbulent region, the Prime Minister said, adding that this small and resource-poor country could make it, owing its success to the efficiency, leadership and dedication of its people. He said the ministerial team had a track record of efficiency and integrity. Mansour said the kingdom is heading towards democracy, noting that His Majesty the King had called for opening doors for light and progress as he wants change, telling the ministers the ball is now in our court. He said parliamentary democracy is the top order in the next phase, emphasizing the government will uphold the close and cooperative relationship with the lower house. We want to be at the side of this country. We have no private or personal agendas rather than serving this country. Each of you has a challenge ahead. You have to choose either success or failure in this task. But we know that this team of good, distinguished and national figures is known for their integrity and efficiency. I pray that we will not be disappointed and that you will be up to the expectations of the leader who had only signed the royal decree after he made sure that you are the crème de la crème of this country, which has so many noble people. The Jordanian citizens are waiting achievement and looking for you to take them where they aspire to be. Minister of Foreign and Expatriate Affairs Nasser Jude discussed with Crown Princess Mary of Denmark, the patron of the UN Population Fund, the UNFPA, and Danish Minister for Development Cooperation Christian Bach, Jordanian-Danish ties, cooperation between Jordan and the UNFPA, as well as regional developments and the Palestinian-Israeli peace process. The two sides highlighted the strong ties between Jordan and Denmark, as well as the two kingdoms' keenness to forge closer cooperation in various fields. The meeting also dealt with the conditions of Syrian refugees currently in Jordan, mainly women and children, who form a majority of the displaced Syrians in the kingdom. Jude said Jordan will continue to host the refugees and provide them with services, expressing appreciation for Denmark's support in this endeavor. The minister also stressed the need to continue cooperation between Jordan and the UNFPA to serve the refugees in the Zaatri refugee camp and provide them with health care. Jude pointed to the burden being shouldered by Jordan as a result of hosting hundreds of thousands of refugees despite the economic hardship the kingdom is facing. He called for further aid to Jordan to enable it to continue its humanitarian role towards the refugees. Mary voiced her appreciation for Jordan's role in serving the Syrian refugees, adding that Denmark was keen to support Jordan so that it can continue this role.
Extremely proud of this relationship, and we shall do everything in our power to enhance it and build on it and find new horizons for cooperation. Also very grateful for the interest that Denmark has shown in the burden that Jordan is carrying. We keep reminding the world on behalf of the international community in hosting so many Syrian refugees because of the bloody conflict that is still ongoing in Syria, and extremely grateful for your and for your support for Jordan. I look forward to continuing our cooperation. We had an excellent discussion today on bilateral cooperation on the issue of the Syrian refugees.
We stand together to support Jordan, have supported already $50 million US in support for the Syrian refugee crisis, and we stand ready to do more, spearheading also a European engagement to now assist host communities and refugee communities together in order to cater for the needs that they have. Once again, salute Jordan. It's an island of stability, and salute for its hospitality and generosity towards people in need, giving them shelter, giving them security and giving them services, sharing the resources of the people and the country to people in desperate need from Syria in these days.
Minister of Planning Ibrahim Saif also discussed with Crown Princess and Denmark's Development Cooperation Minister Jordanian-Danish ties and economic cooperation between the two countries. The minister commended the Danish government for its aid to Syrian refugees in Jordan. Princess Mary stressed their strong ties with Jordan and pledged the Danish government to support the kingdom and regional governments to help displaced Syrians. Jordan condemned as a vicious crime a massacre in Ghouta near Damascus that took innocent Syrian lives. State Minister for Media Affairs and official government spokesman Mohammed al-Momani said Jordan was deeply concerned over the use of chemical weapons as a serious violation of international law. He said any use of such weapons would have serious repercussions on the national security of Jordan as a neighbor of Syria. Momani called for an investigation to punish the perpetrators of the heinous crime, reiterating Jordan's call for a political solution to the Syrian crisis. Russia, meanwhile, urged the Syrian government and the United Nations to agree on a visit by chemical weapons experts to the site of an alleged gas attack by troops loyal to President Bashar al-Assad that killed hundreds of people. Khaled Dababni has an update on the situation in Syria.
A day after the massacre in Damascus, the Syrian opposition demanded that United Nations chemical weapons inspectors immediately investigate the attack that took hundreds of civilians. Government forces have continued a heavy bombardment of the ring of rebel suburbs around the capital, known as the Ghouta region, which activists say will further hinder UN investigators from entering the area. Speaking from Turkey, Syrian National Coalition spokesman Khalid described the situation in the western Ghouta near the Syrian capital as extremely dire.
We are talking about calling the UN Security Council or the UN General Assembly to hold a meeting to intervene in Syria under the 7th chapter of the United Nations. If that doesn't happen, then we are having to move into a full military option. Respond to Assad regime in the way he understands, the only way he had had a dialogue with the Syrian people.
Saleh said that the opposition had contacted the Free Syrian Army to ensure the safety of the UN inspector team.
Today, I think all the liberated area in the region feel dangerous. North, south, and Homs, the middle Homs and Homs province, all the liberated area in the real dangerous because Bashar al-Assad today, he has no red lines, he has nothing to lose. He wants to take to kill the revolutionists, whatever it takes. He wants to destroy the revolution, whatever it takes.
Syrian Information Minister Amran al-Zabi said the allegations of chemical weapons being used were illogical and fabricated. Assad's officials have said they would never use poison gas against Syrians. French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius said if the reported use of chemical weapons in Syria is confirmed, the international community must react with force. Australia condemned the alleged use of chemical weapons in Syria as a new level of barbarism.
No civilized country can stand idly by while there is the threat or even the actuality, in this case, as it might prove to be, of chemical weapons being used in modern warfare, let alone against civilians. Over here.
Germany urged access for the UN to check the reports of the chemical attack, while Turkey said all red lines in Syria have been crossed. Russia's foreign ministry said the Syrian government is ready to cooperate with the United Nations experts and to provide them with full support.
Coordination of the practical aspects of interaction with the Syrian government is underway in calm and constructive manner. The Syrian government confirmed its readiness to cooperate with the UN experts and to provide them with the necessary logistic support and field of operations, including access to compilation of materials regarding the incident in Khan al-Asal.
Russia has protected Syrian President Bashar al-Assad during the more than 2-year conflict in Syria, vetoing UN sanctions aimed at pressuring him to end violence. Hala Dababne for the news at 10.
The government of Iraqi Kurdistan has set an entry quota of 3,000 refugees a day to cope with an influx of Kurds fleeing the civil war in Syria. But there are signs many more are coming. Summer heat, overcrowding and lack of international relief are adding to the plight of some 50,000 Syrian refugees at Domis camp in northern Iraq. About 35,000 refugees, believed to be mainly Syrian Kurds, have entered Iraq since last Thursday. The Kurdish regional government shut the frontier months ago, but opened it last week, triggering the mass influx. Jan Egeland from aid organization Norwegian Refugee Council appealed for more international relief.
Domis camp here in Kurdish Iraq, one of the many examples of forgotten refugee camps in this vast, horrific regional crisis, which is the Syrian exodus. More than 4 million have been displaced inside Syria. 2 million people have become refugees. Here in Iraqish Kurdistan, 5,000 people come now every single day, and there is not enough international relief.
At least 2 rockets fired from Lebanon hit northern Israel, but there were no reports of casualties or damage. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack. Southern Lebanon is a stronghold of Lebanese Hezbollah guerrillas, and armed Palestinians have launched rockets from that area at Israel in the past. A security source in Lebanon said 2 rockets were fired, but Israeli police said it appeared that at least 2 had struck. Israeli media reported that one of the rockets was intercepted by the Iron Dome anti-missile system. Now let's go to Egypt. Former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak was flown from prison after judicial authorities ordered his release. He will be placed under house arrest. Mubarak's imminent dismayed some Egyptians, while his supporters cheer the helicopter that took him from prison. Farah Hajlouni reports.
Cairo's Torres prison. The facility where ousted Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak has been detained since receiving a life sentence last year for failing to protect protesters during the 2011 uprising. A medical helicopter flew him from Torres prison on the southern outskirts of Cairo, where scores of his supporters had gathered to hail his release. It landed minutes later at the military hospital in the nearby suburb of Maadi. Mubarak's immediate destination will be the Armed Forces International Medical Center, where he will remain under guard, according to his lawyer, confirmed by medical and security sources. Earlier this week, a judge ordered his release following a decision in corruption case that saw Mubarak pay back millions in bribes and gifts. The news of Mubarak's release has raised concern around Egypt, which is already deeply divided in the face of a systematic military crackdown on the Islamist Muslim Brotherhood group. Some are calling for the return of toppled President Mohamed Morsi. Others in Cairo seem pleased with Mubarak's impeachment release. This man says the country's focus must return on stamping out the Brotherhood. Mubarak ruled Egypt with an iron fist for over 30 years before being overthrown during the popular uprising. The Prime Minister's office said Mubarak will be placed under arrest. He will not be allowed to leave Egypt, and his assets remain frozen. That decision was made under a months-long state of emergency declared last week when police stormed protest camps set up in Cairo by Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood to call for his reinstatement. Alarmed by the bloodshed, the United States and the European Union are reviewing their aid to Cairo. The head of the European Union delegation in Cairo, James Moran, called for an end to the state of emergency imposed by Egypt's military authorities.
We would very much want to see the early lifting of the state of emergency. We are worried there that the longer this goes on, the more difficult it will be to ensure that basic human rights are protected for all Egyptians. And the sooner the state of emergency can be lifted, we think the better.
The military's declared plan for a return to democracy has yet to calm the most populous Arab nation, where security forces impose a nightly curfew as they hunt down Brotherhood leaders. Farah Ajlouni for the news at 10.
The first day of ousted politician Bo Xilai's trial concluded in East Asia. The 64-year-old former Communist Party chief of the southwestern city of Chongqing has been charged with illegally taking almost $4.41 million, corruption and abuse of power. Bo made a statement denying the charge of bribery. The trial will last for 2 days and the verdict is likely to be in early September. Bo's downfall has pitted supporters of his egalitarian social programs against the capitalist-leaning economic road taken by the leadership in Beijing, exposing divisions within the ruling party as well as Chinese society. Meanwhile, President Xi Jinping is seeking support from the party as he seeks to push reforms that will rebalance the economy. Maria Sharapova has pulled out of the US tournament because of a shoulder injury. The 26-year-old world number 3 is suffering from inflammation in her right shoulder. Sharapova wrote on her Facebook page that withdrawing from this year's final Grand Slam was a really tough decision to make. The 4-time Grand Slam winner, who triumphed at Flushing Meadows in 2006, dismissed coach Jimmy Connors last week after just one match together. And in San Francisco, California, Emirates team took 2 more steps towards winning its 2nd consecutive Louis Vuitton Cup. They won races 4 and 5 of the 30th anniversary final. The winner of the America's Cup Challenger Series advances to meet defender Oracle Team USA in the 34th America's Cup match next month. Emirates team New Zealand won the previous Louis Vuitton Cup in 2007 against Luna Rossa Challenge in a 5-0 sweep. The Kiwis won't be sweeping this series, but needed 3 more victories to book a date against Oracle Team USA. Now a quick look at the weather forecast. Pleasant tonight in hilly areas and noticeably more humid across the northern region. Winds will be northwesterly light to moderate. Tomorrow temperatures across the country are expected to be around their seasonal average. Therefore, it will be mild in the hilly areas and hot in the Jordan Valley and the Gulf of Aqaba. Winds tomorrow will be northwesterly moderate to brisk, sometimes blowing dust in the desert region. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect a hot day tomorrow with northerly brisk winds and calm seas. See now is the temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Now our top stories once again. The Prime Minister tells his reshuffled cabinet that the current challenges require a change of approach to meet citizens' aspirations for development. Jordan condemns a deadly chemical attack in Syria, which killed hundreds amid international calls for an investigation. And former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak is flown from jail, but he will be placed under house arrest. And that's all for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.